Welcome back to Real Talk. My name is Najib and I've been in business of real estate for 17 years, managing director of Najib Real Estate. Now, today, I'm going to have a discussion around, should you auction your home or should you deadline it? I'm not advocate of auction. As an organization, we're not advocate of auction or deadline. We look at a house, look at owner situation, and give a recommendation what's best for them. And every agent should do exactly that, because our goal is to maximize the value of your home every single time. The interest of the client always comes first. Stick right to the end, because I'm going to give you some questions that you can ask your agent before you hire him. Today, I'll be covering these points: difference between auction and deadline. When should you auction your home? When should you deadline your home? Two property comparisons that we've put together. Why are there so many auctions? Lastly, questions to ask your agent before you hire him or her. Auction versus deadline. The goal when you're selling your home is to maximize the value of your home. And in order for us to be able to do that, you need to get as many buyers as possible. 100% of the buyers interested in your campaign, in your property, because there's no way you can maximize the value of your property if only you're working with 10% of the buyers or 15% of the buyers, right? So auction is a public sale where you bid, where your buyers go ahead and bid. And usually the highest bidder will win the property after negotiation, obviously. When the buyer buys a property, it's unconditional, meaning when the hammer goes down, the property is sold to the highest bidder, and they pay a 10% deposit, and the next move is the settlement when they move into the properties. The deadline sale, you've got a set deadline. It used to be called tender. It's kind of similar to tender, but now we call it kind of simplified it, called a deadline sale. And we've got a set date. All offers are presented to the owner on particular time and day. They could be subject to limb, could be subject to title. So their due diligence is carried on after the offer has been accepted by you. And usually there's multiple offers. That will be, in either scenario, the ideal goal is to throw the net as far as you can, get as many buyers as you possibly can, and get them to compete for your property to be able to maximize the value of your home. The more buyers, the more offers, the more bidders, obviously. The more bidders, the more buyers, the more money you're going to get for your property. So that's the two difference between auction and deadline. So when should you auction your home? There's a bunch of things that I think that properties, it's good to auction properties. You need to have a unique home. A house needs to be unique. High emotional attachment where there aren't other homes like it in the area. For example, it'll be maybe a home that backs onto to a reserve, and the reserve you can walk into school rather than crossing the road. And if you got kids that's going to that school, that home is ideal for you. So a lot of big emotional attachment to the property. So here are the cons of auction. If you just want to get the house sold and sold it under hammer and you're under pressure, then you just get the house sold. Doesn't mean you're going to get the maximum possible price, but you just get it sold, right? Because, yeah, maybe you're in a hurry. Maybe, God forbid, you're going through a divorce, or maybe the bank is about to move in, which makes sense in those kind of scenario. It's not ideal. As I said, the goal is when you're selling a home to maximize the value of the property. In order to maximize the value of your home, you need to open up to every single buyer that's out there. And if you go to auction, that's going to give you only a very small market to come and bid for you. It's great for the business. It makes sense. Like these people that do auction property, they're not bad people, but what they do is their main priority is like how they can make money, which makes sense. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business, right? One other thing that I always talk about is they fall in love with the service, with their product and service rather than the customers. So the suggestion is not what's best for the customer. The suggestion what's good for the business, for me as a business owner. Next thing is obviously the con would be is because most buyers, they can't come to auction. And only buyers that can come to auction, they need to be cash and unconditional. Bank has to have that approved. They need to have their limb checked by the solicitor. They need to have the builder report done on the property. So that is another con. Obviously, another one is first home buyers. Like, I would never auction a first home property because why? Ask 100 first home buyers, and I'll bet 99 of them would say, I'm not going to go to auction because I can't go to auction because I've got to go get my builder's report done. I'll get my lawyers involved. And the bank hasn't given me approval yet. The banks are so hard at the moment as well. And the banks don't like to say, like, you should just go to auction and bid. So, and then investment properties. Investment buyers, all numbers and figures, right? If, as an investor, I love going to auction to buy because I get pretty good deals. And I can't wait to go back to the market and go ahead and buy some of those auction properties. I'll open it up rather than auction. Then we move on to the next method, which I'm going to chat about in a minute. And then my own experience, a little while back when I was a young agent, I was sold on this concept of, auction anything and everything. I had the room was my auctions because I was the top agent, and like, I was sold to auction everything. It was 9 auctions on the day, and all were my auctions, and the vendors, none of them sold. I was devastated. The clients were not happy. The only people that were happy was obviously the people that was running the show, but at the back, and obviously making money, which makes sense as a business owner, not as a client. So when should you deadline your home? The pros of deadline is suited for any property. You can deadline any home you like. Could be lifestyle block, could be a residential property, could be a first home, a second home, multi-million dollar home. It's like I said, I wouldn't auction first home or investment property. This method is suited perfectly for a deadline, for a first home or investment property, because investors, they would have a whole lot of conditions. The developers will have a whole lot of conditions in the contract, and first home buyers as well. But there's nothing wrong with it. The goal is to maximize the value of your home, not just to sell the house, right? Either the campaign. And it attracts every buyer to maximize the value of your most expensive asset. Makes sense to get everybody involved. For example, we just sold a property, it's a development property, potential development of first home, a great investment. You can land back number 111 Neville Street. Just recently went under contract. Day before, Pete is 82 years old, lovely guy. He was obviously talking with other agents as well. And I suggested to him, I said, hey, the reason I'll deadline you property is because I want to open up to every single buyer that's out there. Not just one first home buyer, I want to get every first home buyer involved. Not one investor, I want to get every investor involved. Not one developer, every developer involved. So we ended up, in 1 week, with 7 offers. We brought the deadline forward. The offers started from 485, 480, 485, 550, 585, upwards of that, and the best offer was 730,000. Now, most of those buyers had due diligence clause in it, and developers like to have those clauses in the thing, in the contract, right? They want to do due diligence, but I don't care if they want to do their due diligence 5-10 working days, and I get $150,000 more for Pete, right? Like, when is Pete going to make, at 82 years old, when is Pete going to make another 150,000 more? This is his only opportunity to capitalize on the property that he owns since 1960 or whatever. It's our obligation to give clients what's best for them, right? Not just a quick sale. If that's what we've been sold to do. The deadline sale, the cons that the deadline sale may have is you might not get the house sold within that deadline period, which you can always extend. But if you're on a time frame, the bank is going to come after you, or God forbid you're having a divorce and you want to go your own way, it doesn't matter what you get for the house, then perhaps deadline is not the right option if you're on a time frame. Or maybe you've bought a house somewhere for a great price and you don't want to miss out on that property. That could be the time that you would say, okay, like, I'll sell it at auction. Doesn't matter what I get for the property. I've got some comparisons here. I've got a bunch of houses here that we sold auctioned or deadlined. So number 49 Rosenton Drive, that's an area that I sell a lot of houses in. So I know what house should be auctioned, what one should be deadlined. And from experience, 17 years, you know what's best for your client, right? And if you put the client's interest first, then you give them suggestion what's best for them. So 49 Rosenton Drive, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double-car garage. It's pretty standard house in West Milton. It's probably like low-end kind of properties. It's sold for $1.50 million. We sold it for $1.50 million, but we opened that for deadline because these bunch of houses on the market is pretty similar to this. So we put a price guide on it, which I'm going to have discussion about in a minute. Also, we had it up for deadline. And we had multiple offer on it on this one as well. We sold it for $1,050,000. Very happy owners. And then the next one here is 65 Benham School Road in Rolleston. It was an absolutely amazing house. It was unique. It was different. Yes, it was unique, but let me come to the bottom of it, because I was like tossing between auction. Am I going to auction this thing, or am I going to deadline it? We decided to go to deadline it. The reason the features were, it was two distinctive houses. There was two different on one title, but there was a cottage, 80 square meter cottage, and there was a big, beautiful house, and it had it got a basketball court and everything. And then also I talked to Dan and Laura. I said, I think, let me do my pre-marketing campaign on this, and I'm going to come back to you if I'm going to go auction or deadline it. At this stage, I'm kind of thinking about, I'm kind of sitting in between the two. And the reason we decided to go with deadline was because every single buyer that I had through that property, they had houses to sell. Because there was two dwellings, usually a mum and a daughter, or an elderly and their kids, or teenage kids and their parents may want to buy this thing. And usually they've got houses to sell. And the two offers that we had on it, we had an offer, Auckland buyer, we had an offer. He had a house to sell in Auckland. He was going to buy it with his mum, and mum was going to live in the cottage, and he was going to live in the big house with his wife and a kid. And the kid was playing, he would play basketball. And then our dear clients that bought the property, that own 49 Rosington Drive, bought this property. They have teenage daughters. So eventually the teenage daughter is going to move to the property. I'm assuming they might rent it short term, or they might have guests staying in the front, or they might Airbnb it. Who knows? So either way, they had houses to sell. If I auctioned that property, I had zero bidders for that property. And why would I auction property if it's not the best thing for my clients, right? The next one, 29 Hanrahan Street, Ireland, was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, beautifully designed by David Allen, the architect. There was an architect. They used to call them box homes. It was 1960s, 1970s, and it's very rare. Absolutely amazing houses. And with cathedral seating, open plan living area, separate living, and a nice, beautiful hallway, and then the bedrooms off the hallway. It was just absolutely amazing. So much emotional attachment. There's nothing like it. There was hardly anything like it on the market at the time. And we sold that for over $1 million. That was when the market was a little bit hotter as well. So we had in the backyard, auction was happening in the backyard, and we had a ball. And maybe we can share that video with the team, because we got a beautiful video for that property. The owner there was like, Nathan, I'm not too sure if I want to auction the property. So I convinced Marty. I said, hey, let's go to auction. I think it's be the best thing. He says, Nathan, I trust you. We went to auction, and he was laughing at the end. So coming to wrap this up, everything has to be what's best for the client, because if we take care of the client, the business will take care of itself. For some reason, unfortunately, our industry has got this totally wrong. And they've been doing okay for a little while, but it takes a little bit of time for the momentum to slow down. So if we don't take care of the client, we'll be toast as well, like the blockbuster industry, like the Uber and the taxi industry, right? Reason we did land this property, 49 Rosington Drive, it was, as I said, there's too many houses, similar style in the neighborhood. There is a property down the road, kind of similar to this, down Whedon's Ross Road, that's being auctioned at the moment. And I can guarantee, because I know how it works, that's not going to be sold. It won't sell unless they give it away. Number 10, another property that we appraised. They decided to go with somebody else, and they auctioned it, didn't sell, and now it's on the market at a price which I think is unrealistic, and I don't think that would sell. So the longer, what I find is, from my experience, the longer something sits on the market, the less you end up for it. So the first 30 days is crucial to maximize the value of your home. So choosing what method you go with is absolutely crucial. You got to get that right. Your agent got to get it right. So we did line, obviously, 65 Benham School Road. The reason behind that was it was unique, yes, but it was, the buyers would have had houses to sell. So if we went to auction, we would have had no bidders. And Hanrahan Street, as I said, it was sold above $1 million. We had people fighting over it. It was unique. It was amazing. And we had so many bidders. And the market at the time was absolutely insane. Now, why there are so many auctions, everybody, some people, some agencies, they just go ahead and just auction anything. in everything. What's reason behind this? Now, I've got auctioneers. Some great auctioneers are some of my friends. So, and I always have discussion with these guys saying, "Hey, why do you auction everything?" So, now the reason everything is being auctioned because the real estate agencies, they've got two sources of income. One is when the property is sold, and then the other one is when you auction. So auction is if a property is auctioned, even if it's not sold, there's a source of income. Income comes in. They still get paid. And as a business, it makes sense to have cash flow, right? Because otherwise, you go out of business. One of the things that I always talk about is when industry fall in love with their product and their service and forget about the customer, they get toasted. For example, back in the days, I used to drive taxis for Gold Band, and that was 2007, 2008. And the guy that owned the taxi company, I used to have a conversation. I said, "Hey, you need to get all your taxi drivers to clean their taxis because their taxis stink. They give crappy service." He was like, "No, nothing's gonna happen. Who cares? That's how it is. That's what we do, right?" And then all of a sudden, Uber comes in and wipes him clean, right? Now, when I'm going anywhere, I'm not catching a taxi. I'm getting an Uber. So that is the kind of conversation I'm having with my buddy auctioneer, saying, "Hey, we need to stop doing this. Stop thinking about the business. We need to start thinking about our clients." Now, as a business, it makes sense, as I said. If you're calling 100 auction a month, that's $1,000 a piece or $795 a piece. That's 100,000 a month. 100,000 a month, it pays for a lot of expenses. It makes sense, right? So let's say you might only sell 25% of the auction, but you get paid for 100% of the auctions. So you get the revenue as well as the cash flow, later payment or revenue, and today's revenue. And as a business, you need to do that. That's the reason why there's that many auctions. And also, when I had the 8 or 9 auction in a day, is because when you've got to watch out who you get advice from. Because if an auctioneer giving you advice, he's not a bad person. He's just taking care of himself and his shareholders. He's giving you advice what's best for him. And so he's dedicated auctioneer. He's got to feed his family. So he's going to tell you that, yes, let's auction a property. He will sell it to the agent come and sell it to you. And it's like walking into a Toyota dealership, asking them what would be the best car model, make and model to buy. Of course, they're going to sell you a Toyota, right? It's like going to a tobacco factory and asking them if cigarettes are healthy for you, right? They sold that for a long time to us, didn't they? That cigarettes not going to make you sick, right? We found out a long time later. These are the questions I want you to ask your agent before you hire him or her. Why do you think this method, if it's auction or deadline, why do you think it's best for my house? Why? And listen what they've got to say and see if that resonates with you, and if it's everything that I've said so far, it kind of matches his or her answer. Ask them, what do you think the house is worth? Because a professional agent should at least know within 10% of your price what your home is worth. Realistically, if they say we're going to go to the market and find out what the house is worth, that is rubbish. They should know. As a professional real estate agent, they should know what your house is worth, because what they do, they have to do a thorough research. They have to know their product. They should know what the house is worth. If they tell you, I'll be very worried if they say, "Oh, let's go to the market and find out what it's worth." Because no, you won't find out what it's worth. You will just get the house sold. Now, the other question, if we go to auction, let's say, and we haven't got any bidders, do we still have to go to auction? And why? Because I hear many times, just yesterday I was talking to somebody yesterday, Troy went to auction, there was 0 bidder, and they went to auction. Doesn't make sense to me. It was sold to me as well. Go to auction because it damaged the interior of your house. It doesn't. It makes you look bad as an owner. When you go to an auction room, there's nobody bidding on your house and it gets passed in. Yeah, the auctioneer gets paid. Yes, the business gets paid, but you lose. A great agent is the most important. You got to hire the best agent. There are some great agents out there. So you got to hire the best, because that representative of you is going to deal with your buyers and help you maximize the value of your property. So pricing your property fairly, putting a price guide on the property. Maybe we can do another video why price guide is so important. Presenting your house well, promoting it beautifully, and to help you maximize the value of your property, you need the best agent to negotiate the best possible price for you, because the difference between a great agent who's got your best interests at heart and get you the best possible price. And an average agent could be 100, could be 150,000, just like Pete would have lost 150,000 at least or more if he did go to auction or go win with the wrong agent or agency. I hope this video has added value to you. Thank you for watching and subscribe to our channel below. We release 2 videos every month, so keep an eye on it. If you subscribe, you will get a notification as soon as we release a video.